We are going to have an important conversation today. It's really a sequel to what we were talking about last week, which was the collapse of MAGA. And it's important to understand how this is happening. But more than that, it's important to understand why. And what we're going to go through in terms of evidence, material. We'll also have an open discussion about this in the Overdrive segment with our teammates, as well as bring in and feature some of the top comments coming in on our listener streams, which is going to be hundreds of comments. We'll be sifting through live in real time and showing you some of the better takes out there from our audiences, particularly those on Rumble and YouTube, as well as other platforms too. But it's important to understand why. Has MAGA collapsed? Why has confidence in Donald Trump collapsed, especially among independents? And obviously, this isn't my opinion. We're going by the polls in this case. So we're going to talk about that during this first segment. But we're also going to sort of open up the discussion as well in the second half of the program, possibly on some other things. I mean, we a lot of people have covered the peace deal, supposed peace deal anyway, the one that the Trump administration put on the table. It has not been fully agreed on by Russia. Obviously, there's going to be negotiations, nor has Ukraine agreed on the terms. But the pressure is certainly on Kiev, that's for sure. And there are things in this Trump peace plan that are encouraging. It's good to see some of these things put on paper, but yet it's not done officially yet. Europe has completely rejected it. Zelensky has come out against it, but then has also put out a weird statement publicly about how the Ukrainians might need to bend or be flexible in order to survive as a country and so forth. His inner circle is fleeing the country because of corruption charges. The walls are closing in on the regime in Kiev, as well as the narrative that the Europeans and other people in the West, the Russia-phobic mob have been promulgating for the last 4 years, and really beyond that since 2014 intensely. So we may cover that later in the week. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about that, but we're going to circle back to the MAGA discussion because it's important, and also because I don't think people have given it a comprehensive treatment. We will do in this segment. But before that, I want to draw this to people's attention. Other story, but we're going to give it a mention here in this first segment. And that is about what's going on in the UK regarding the prescription of Palestine Action, a grassroots activist organization. And sadly, this happened outside the prison during a Palestinian solidarity demonstration for the people being held by the British government for protesting the genocide. A journalist has been killed or has died. We don't know the details of this yet, but the evidence so far is disturbing. And here's the gentleman. This is details of this on Minpress News. Obviously, this is from their Facebook page. David Lear passed away after collapsing outside HMP Pentonville prison on Saturday, the 15th of November. Incident occurred minutes after an alleged violent altercation involving an Israeli or pro-Israel counter-protester, quote unquote, during this demonstration. So he is a well-known community journalist documenting the protest, and he died. Allegedly or supposedly from a heart attack following a violent altercation with a pro-Israeli, quote, counter-demonstrator. David Lear is his name. Very sad. Very sad indeed. And as Basil Valentine made the point on Friday when he appeared at UK Column News, if this had been an Israeli or a Jewish counter-protester or something like that, this would have made national news. It actually probably would have across America, here as well. People have been going absolutely insane over this if that was the case. But as it goes, it was just somebody supporting Palestine. So it didn't even raise to the level of mainstream media coverage. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about the current situation politically. We also want to draw people's attention to the Sunday screening, which is up at 21stcenturywire.com right now. And the Sunday screening, again, the documentary films that we feature every week. We usually curate one or editorial team at 21st Century Wire. This one is Inside Israel's War, Breaking Ranks. This is our Sunday screening feature documentary this week. So I want to tell people to possibly, if you have time, this is definitely a good independent documentary film that that we're featuring, along with many others. If you look back at the Sunday screening archive, you'll see great films week after week. So if you want a good curated list of topical documentaries, Sunday screening, do follow it if you're able to. It's something that we do for our audience. I think that is quite unique, but yeah, we want to draw people's attention to that as well. So that's where things are at generally, folks, on those important issues. Now let's get to the task at hand. Let's talk about the topic at hand, which is this. And again, this is the theme of the show. Why has he wrecked the MAGA movement? Now, some people will say, well, he hasn't wrecked the MAGA movement. It's just divided over certain contentious issues. And therefore, it's not Trump's fault. It's just politics and so forth. I disagree. I think this is not only is it intentional, but it really exposes Donald Trump as somebody who really doesn't have any political beliefs, zero ideology, and definitely doesn't care about his base, because if he did, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing here. And if you look at in this image here, you've got behind Donald Trump with the stupid red hat is Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. Okay, Thomas Massie particularly is a standout congressman from Kentucky, and Trump has attacked him. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Trump loyalist from the beginning. She'd go to New York to defend him outside the courts where he was a victim of lawfare. She is an absolute core foundational MAGA representative for the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again. And Donald Trump has not only turned on these, he's encouraged the primarying of these two independent, well, they're Republicans, but independent-minded Congress people, representatives. And it's very telling. This really shows you who Donald Trump is. He's not loyal to any party. He's certainly not loyal to any ideology. He's only loyal to himself, power, and his real priority, of course, is the state of Israel. This is Donald Trump's number one priority. Israel first, America second, and the American people, well, that's just an afterthought, really, if you think about it. So that's really important when we look at this, to understand that this is really undermining so many things. One of the main things Donald Trump undermines is conservatism. Donald Trump is not a conservative. He's never been a conservative his whole career. He has, before 2016, he bankrolled the Democratic Party. He bankrolled Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. So this is a lifelong Democrat, like Elon Musk. He just did a superficial change, masquerading as a conservative in order to get himself into power. Okay. Nothing conservative about him. He is a rabid neoliberal, but like many rabid neoliberals, you can put a cigarette paper between them and neoconservatives. And this Trump administration has been one of the most neoconservative ever. Okay. So very important that we just highlight this important point. Now, what we're going to show you next is a video message from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. And we showed last week the tweets by Trump trashing Thomas Massie, which were disgusting. I mean, it really brings the office of the presidency down to such a low level that people would be saying these sort of things publicly, but then posting them on their official presidential account is really something incredible. But yet this has become common for this president. He doesn't seem to have any control over what he posts. Maybe he's not posting it, but he's certainly not protesting against his account being used to push some of these things. But really just defaming and defiling good people. Good people who are working for the American people, unlike this president, is not working for the interest of the American people. He's working for the interest specifically of a billionaire class. I didn't want to believe that at first, and it didn't seem apparent, but now it's pretty damn obvious. And those are billionaire Democrats as well as Republicans. You should notice that. That's why there's a lack of pushback from the so-called left about what this president is actually doing. So here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're going to bring her on screen. She posted this. I can only describe it as a hostage video. I mean, how else can you describe this? Anyway, she said what she said. This is her resignation video. Believe it or not, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the biggest iconoclast in Congress practically, is quitting. I personally have my opinion of how this is. We'll skip through this video, but here's the beginning, and then we'll play the end.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest, and the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars.
Okay, so that's her record, and it's all true. She is the real deal, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's fast forward to the end. This is the important part of the statement here, the last 2 minutes. Just buffering on X.
Hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of nonstop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never, ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country. And instead, the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America. Hi.
There it is, folks. I mean, you got to understand the gravity of what you just heard there. Okay. Very, very important point on the American political timeline. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is being attacked, primaried by the president that she put it all on the line to support when nobody else would. Okay. That doesn't tell you as much about Marjorie Taylor Greene as it does about Donald Trump. You see, Donald Trump doesn't respect loyalty, clearly. he doesn't respect those who are loyal to him. But like a petulant child, he translates anybody who's calling for accountability or who opposes his slavish support for the genocidal colonial settler project known as Israel. And she opposes the fact that this president, Trump, allowed himself to be purchased by a foreign lobby and Mary Madelson and the rest of them. She opposes that. And for that, he's accusing her of being disloyal. So the loyalty Donald Trump is talking about is like loyalty to the mob, to the mafia. Donald Trump clearly fancies himself as a mob boss. You see, that's the problem. So he's throwing her under the bus. And he, not only that, not just throwing her under the bus, running her over and then reversing over her. Okay, that's Trump, basically, that guy. So that's what's going on. So he's wrecking, Donald Trump is wrecking the MAGA movement. And he's taking his cues from some of the wealthiest people, not only in America, but also in the world. And it's quite astonishing, really. And, we'll talk about the ins and outs of this, but let's just start with Exhibit A, okay? Because it's important that people understand the progression of events here. Bring this back. So this is what Donald Trump says about his biggest ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Trader Brown. So he won't even call her by her sort of legal name. He's calling her Marjorie Brown. Maybe that's her maiden name or something like that. I have no idea. But because of plummeting poll numbers and not wanting to face a primary challenger with a strong Trump endorsement where she would have no chance of winning, exclamation mark. I mean, just totally unhinged. So he's sticking the knife in Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. Okay. So these are three politicians with integrity that are independently minded and that are not bought and paid for. And Donald Trump's attacking them. Why? Well, for two out of three of those vociferously oppose what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people and the money that Israel is siphoning out of America and the amount of money Israel is using to bribe American politicians. So it's pretty clear Donald Trump works for Israel. So who's the traitor here? Who's the traitor? Which one of these, out of those Congress people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, and then Donald Trump, out of those four individuals, which one basically attacked the First Amendment in this year by attacking college students legally and rightfully protesting their universities' financial ties to the genocidal state of Israel? Convicted war criminal Prime Minister and Defense Minister Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, well, soon to be convicted, but indicted in the ICC. Israel has been by the United Nations and all but finalized by the ICJs guilty of genocide in Gaza. Okay, so Donald Trump's defending that and attacking the First Amendment. Well, when the president, I have to remind people every time because everyone likes to forget, the president swears to protect and defend the U.S. Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Well, this president is an enemy of the U.S. Constitution. So who's the traitor? That's if he's going to be accusing elected representatives of being traitors, well, what is Donald Trump? If everyone else is a traitor, somebody who's trashing the First Amendment as a president on behalf of a foreign government, Israel, that's very shaky grounds for Donald Trump to be calling anybody a traitor. It's disgusting, but it's not the worst. And here he is topping even that. This is what led up to it. This is Trump. I am withdrawing my support and endorsement for, quote, Congresswoman, in quotes. I mean, just insulting. Marjorie Taylor Greene, state of Georgia. Despite my creating record achievements for our country, including total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, men and women's sports, transgender, DEI, who cares? Culture war issues, this is so stupid, okay? It's so weak of anybody who's still, any conservatives or Republicans still harping on the culture war issues, while World War III is like, breathing down the neck of the country and the world. And you guys are still talking about trans. I mean, this is like, let Ben Shapiro fight the culture wars. Let all the high-pitched, squeaky, annoying voices fight the culture wars, okay? Let all these sort of Daily Wire type people go fight go and let them have a boxing match with a trans person or something like this. Hire a ring, fight it out. Ben and Matt Walsh, you guys can fight it out. The big ticket issues are Israel, Iran, and Ukraine. Okay. Obviously, see, Donald Trump doesn't want to address any of these because he's completely on the wrong side of all those issues, of course, policy-wise, and goes against all his Make America Great election pledges. Here he is. I stopped 8 wars. What a load of BS. Okay. Rebuilding America's military. How are you rebuilding America's military? Like, what have you done? You guys are still flying F-14s and F-17s and still dumping fighters off aircraft carriers into the Red Sea. Thank you, Pete Hegseth. Okay. You're bombing third world countries that don't have any real organized military. Okay. And you are doing sneak attacks during peace negotiations like you did against Russia and against Iran. Okay. So, yeah, you're doing really good. Oh, stopping 8 wars. You've started 3. Donald Trump did not stop all the wars he's claiming credit for. And 3 of the wars that he said he stopped have continued fighting, including the ones that he's directly involved in. So it's all BS. Okay. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. Look at this long-winded tweet. I mean, is some petulant high school child managing Donald Trump's Twitter account? Is that Don Jr.? Is that Dan Scavino? Who runs this account? Honestly, who is typing all this garbage and signing the president on it? Is it Trump? I don't think so, because I'm reticent to believe that Donald Trump is probably the most illiterate U.S. president in history. He hasn't read a book probably in 30 years, except maybe his own Art of the Deal. Did he write that? Was that ghostwritten? I don't know. He probably read that one. Maybe not. Could Donald Trump, does he have the attention span to sit down and write a tweet that long? I doubt it. Seriously, I doubt it. I'm not just ripping on Trump, folks. This is a president publishing stuff like this, attacking his allies. I mean, it's beyond cringeworthy at this point. So anyway, he did the same to Thomas Massie and putting like vile expletives. And this is like par for the course. And accusing people of low IQ, Republican hating anchors. This president is low IQ. His administration, all his cabinet are low IQ. They're all appointed by the Israelis, by Miriam and Howard and Jared. Okay, that's who gave you Trump's cabinet. So anyway, we move on. So why has MAGA split? Okay, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene just recently. Epstein battle has ripped MAGA apart, says Marjorie Taylor Greene. So the Epstein issue, Trump's cover-up of A, his relationship with Jeff Epstein, and B, trying to basically recast an issue that he campaigned on. You know, I'm going to deliver transparency. We're going to release all the Epstein files. That was one of this President Trump's campaign promises. Then he turns around and says, now it's a Democratic hoax. It's a hoax created by the Democratic Party. So first you want to expose it because Biden's covering it up, and now it's a Democratic hoax. Okay, one of those two things are not true. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, was calling for a release of the files, and that's when Trump started attacking her. And that's when Trump started also attacking Massie. Okay, Trump's in the Epstein files. To what degree and what's unredacted, we will never know. But he's in there. So obviously he wants to cover it up. His associates are in there. And Epstein's links to Israel and Israeli intelligence are in there. That's why it's being covered up. Simple. So that's issue one. Issue two, look at this. And we find out the MAGA world was on the side of Israel. Now it's split over Gaza. So Trump couldn't maintain a consensus within MAGA over the U.S. and their sort of, mindless, slave-like support for Netanyahu and Israel. And America's a co-belligerent. They're supplying all the weapons and bombs for the mass murder of Palestinians. Of course, nobody wants to take accountability for that. Donald Trump could have taken accountability for that and then blamed it on Biden and finished it and stopped Israel. But no, because Trump is bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby, he couldn't do that. He had to take the side of Israel, and rather than change the course of history, he took it down a darker path. Okay, that's what Trump has done. Sad but true, and that split MAGA. And that's probably something he in his infinite wisdom couldn't have foreseen because he lives in such a bubble. He thinks that everybody loves Israel like as much as he does. And so here are the two principal actors in over this issue in the split. Here's one recently, Tucker Carlson. There's others too. And below that, Nick Fuentes. Okay, recently, these two become the main target of the Israeli cancellation machine because they're raising questions about America's support for Israel and the amount of control Israel has over the U.S. government and specifically this president. And yes, that's split the MAGA movement. Okay, MAGA being Make America Great Again and so forth. America First, Republicans, 2024 election, put all that together and bake it into a big roll. That's MAGA for the moment, but not anymore. So there's two issues. And of course, Charlie Kirk fell victim to both of these issues. And so he began to pivot and moderate his position, and he ends up getting whacked. And everyone's saying, well, Israel had nothing to do with that. That was because of disgruntled trans, or maybe someone sharing a flat with a trans person in Utah. or some stupid story that nobody can actually corroborate. So what's going on? Which one of these is true? Well, I think you can figure that out if you have half a brain cell. So last-ditch effort to block Trump's Venezuela war appeals to MAGA Republicans. Here's the other issue, Venezuela. With a war powers vote looming in the Senate, advocates are pointing to Trump's past opposition to regime change wars, but they're not getting that. They're not. Instead, with this president, they're getting something else. You can see little narco Marco in the background there. What Trump's little sort of sidekick who rubber stamps everything. Trump's allowing Marco to sort of kind of run point on South America. Marco Rubio, another sort of Trotskyite, cross-dressing as a conservative. So many of these. But anyway, here we go. There's a battle for MAGA's soul, and Venezuela is in the middle of it. So this continues to fracture the MAGA movement. Continues. So it's just going from bad to worse. And then we learn that one of the main principles for the U.S. attacking Venezuela is because Venezuela, and again, just remember who put Marco Rubio into the Secretary of State position. Israel, Mary Madelson. They first wanted Mike Pompeo. That was too much for Trump. And the other person they wanted in that position, I forgot who it was somebody insane. And then Trump came up with Rubio on their sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 short list. And we get little Marco. Little Marco's whole career is Israeli donors. Okay, from Paul Singer and the rest. Israeli billionaires have made Marco Rubio. So Venezuela happens to be the first country in Latin America to recognize a Palestinian state and to make Palestine their chief foreign policy issue. You think that's a coincidence that now Trump is going after Venezuela so hard in his first term as well, but even harder now, positioning U.S. military assets off the coast of Venezuela for an unprovoked war of aggression? Coincidence? No, I don't think so. So that's that issue. And again, what's this say? Oh, Maria Corina Machado. This is not regime change, she tells Americans. So she's so desperate. This was the Nobel Peace Prize winner. The CIA selected the Nobel Prize winner this year, which I thought was wonderful for the CIA. Anyway, they chose Maria Corina Machado as the Nobel Peace Prize winner. So congratulations, Maria, for winning that CIA handpicked award this year as they control the Nobel Committee, which is so wonderful for world peace. But anyway, she's desperate now. She's running op-eds in the Washington Post written by the CIA. They're saying this is not a regime change effort. So she is cheerleading for the toppling of Maduro. She's cheerleading for U.S. military forces gathering off the coast of Venezuela, ready to attack it and steal their oil, but it's not a regime change war, she claims. I mean, this is just the farce of this is so beyond. It boggles the imagination. And so what does this all translate to? And again, we always try to put some meat on the bones on this show, because that's what we do. The other shows don't, but we're really going to fortify this one here. What does this mean? Trump has just lost 39 points among independent voters in just 9 months. No one has ever seen anything like it, and no one will ever again. Look at that. So this is aggregate polling. This was on CNN, but they're quoting aggregate polling. January last year. Net approval -4 points among independents. Now -43, 10x. A 10x, tenfold drop in independent voters. You can't win the midterms, the coming midterms in 2026. The Republicans will not hold the House or the Senate with those numbers. Not only that, this translates into low turnout as well. It's another sort of ancillary effect of these sort of numbers. I mean, it's not me saying this. Go to the People's Pundit on X, another honest poller. There's a few out there, but that's what you're looking at, folks. Okay. So everything I'm showing you here is just symptomatic of that. So those are the receipts. Those are the receipts. So it just keeps getting worse and worse. And here's another one. The surprise issue driving a wedge between Trump and his MAGA base. What's that? Oh, here it is. This is the man of the people, Donald Trump, the working man's president, the Make America Great, the conservative, right? The heir apparent to Ronald Reagan. You must be kidding me. San Francisco, Washington Post, President Trump faces an unexpected rift in the MAGA movement. Another one. As Republican officials from state houses to the Capitol Hill warn his full-throated embrace of the tech industry's artificial intelligence boom risks undermining America's economic security and exposing children to new harms, etc. What he's talking about is Donald Trump is now attempting to block states from regulating AI. Okay? Think about that for a moment. So who is making him do that? Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and the other Israeli operatives that are embedded in the AI US tech industry. Okay? And I want to say non-Israeli. I mean, Elon is not Israeli, but he's totally under the thumb of Israel, as was evidenced by him being dragged by the ear to Israel for the October 7th propaganda tour and the photo op with Netanyahu himself. Okay. So Musk is pretty much under control of that narrative, but the rest is Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, and all the other billionaires, and Peter Thiel. Okay. These guys run Trump. So instead of taking the more states' rights approach, the thing that makes America a great country, Donald Trump sides with the transnational corporate oligarchs and Bilderberg, because read Bilderberg there. That's what you're seeing. Yes, that's what that. And how do we know this? Because this has been at the top of Bilderberg's agenda the last 12 years. Just saying, folks. If you pay attention to the stuff, you'll see. So these are just a handful, but they're important ones of the MAGA disintegration. And so Trump isn't just doing this haphazardly. This is all intentional and it's all systematic. Donald Trump is not who you thought he was. This is something, unfortunately, many of us have come to understand. Wish it wasn't true, but it is. So, and now to show the really retarded side of MAGA, I hate to break this to you guys, but this is painful. So, the next MAGA divide is China. So, but this is where Trump hopes to regain, because of these poll numbers, Trump hopes to regain MAGA by beating the war drums against China. And why is that? Because on the issue of China, MAGA are retarded, generally. So look at this. Even as Trump makes overtures to Beijing, trying to do a trade deal with China, most of the MAGA voters continue to view China as a moderate to severe threat, 83%, afraid of China for some reason. And many agree that it intends to destroy the U.S. China intends to destroy the U.S., 29%, a third of all MAGA, and replace it with a new world order, a Chinese world order, 33%. So unfortunately, low IQ MAGA are still like obsessed with China. It's sad, but anyway, so just when you thought there was hope, you have some of these weird things baked into the brains of American Republicans, many of them. and the MAGA movement. It's almost like, yeah, oh no, we can't. There has to be somebody. It's almost like Americans are genetically genetically disposed to having to have at least one country that's an existential boogeyman at all times. It's like a requirement, predisposed. I wish this stuff wasn't true, but I'm just reporting facts here. It's painful for me too. Trust me. I don't like doing this. I'd rather be covering something else, but we had to lay this out because people need to understand what's going on. You're being completely manipulated, okay? And we have been for a very long time. And this president, if you want us to get into economic policies, please don't make me go there. The tariff wars are a joke, okay? An epic failure, and they're engaged in such propaganda right now, trying to Breitbart and everybody else trying to paint the U.S. economy as being the greatest ever in history, the current U.S. economy. I don't know what to say. I really don't. It's, it clearly is a contraction in consumer confidence, there'll be an overall GDP contraction. Let's forget about the fake Wall Street stock market that's constantly being pumped up by fake liquidity. Okay, the real economy is contracting, and part of it is just because of the indecisiveness and the unpredictability that people are looking at with the United States attacking, sanctioning, and starting tariff wars with everybody on the planet. Okay, and the U.S. thinks that's going to somehow bring jobs back to America. They're not coming. It's over. Trump is not going to bring any more manufacturing jobs to America. If he does, he's going to have to subsidize them. Meanwhile, the Rust Belt, farmers are going broke. Okay. And Trump wants to bail out Argentina, his buddy Milei, the crypto scammer in Buenos Aires, who, by the way, the U.S. is not. Trump intervened. I mean, last thing I'll mention because it's hilarious. Trump intervened in the last Argentinian election to save Milei by threatening to withhold a U.S. bailout of the Argentinian currency, second round, worth $20 billion, if they don't vote for Milei, or his party anyway, in the last round of elections, just this last month. And it worked. People got scared. The U.S. money wasn't going to come in. They voted for Milei's party. And then now Trump's reversing it, saying, no, we're not going to send that bailout. So Milei's supporters must be feeling like mugs. Of course, you're dealing with Trump. So it's not written down. Even if it's written down, it's not going to get honored. And so do you think this peace deal in Ukraine is going to be like nailed down? Think he's been able to see it through? I'm not sure. The way this president is running the business of government is quite extraordinary. So no one's ever seen anything like it before. Anyway, that's all we're going to show you for the moment. That's all for this segment. Let's take a break. At the Sunday Wire, I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. It's great to have you with us. We'll be visiting some of the comments in the Overdrive segment. Also, some of our teammates are going to join us as well. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We'll see you in just a few minutes. So stay right there. We'll be back.
All of the pictures left unpainted, all of the games they left unplayed, all the laughter in the playground, all of the art they never made. Ghost faces of a million Palestinian children. All of those voices left in silence, all with their names written in kind, lest their bodies poked from rubble, lifeless empty dolls to find. Ghost faces of a million Palestinian children. What are the songs they've never written? What are the words they'll never sing? And the darkness of the nightmare, inescapable that brings the ghost faces of a million and most dear. I hear them begging for the reason. How could you ever leave us here? I close the eyelids of 1 million Palestinian children. So what do we really stand for? Is this how our future's made? And when we ever find the courage to stand up unafraid, I tear away the persecution of the Palestinian children. Rise up and be the guardians of the Palestinian children. Respect our obligation, every creed and every nation, 'cause every soul deserves protection. Save the Palestinian children. Save the